Yeah, a couple of minutes ago, the minister finished speaking on what's called the mini budget in South Africa. So that's about 6 months after the formal budget, sort of update on where things are at, and it's really, really good. I'll take you through the highlights. The minister suggested that the rate of economic growth is set to lift from the 1% that the number's been trapped at for a number of years to approach 2% by 2028, and that's perfectly reasonable. It's modest, of course, by global standards, but it is an increase of 100%, and the minister was able to make the argument that the rate of growth can lift because numbers on gross fixed capital formations, that's fixed investment into South Africa, those are projected to turn positive again, which hasn't been the case for a little while. And household spending is expected to lift a little bit as well. The minister was able to justify those two statements on grounds of port and rail infrastructure reforms, which are slowly and belatedly underway, and also the fact that the energy position in the country has been much stabilized. So that is, relative to what might have been, a good start. Then there's more. Public debt, so that's how much debt the government has. That number has now stabilized. It stopped after rising year after year for a number of years, and that's very significant, and the minister projects quite credibly that number is going to begin to dip into the medium term, which is the next 3 years, so into, let's say, 2028. The budget deficit, which is the difference between what the government spends and what it earns in revenue, is projected to be cut in half from about 4.5%, so that's negative because it's a deficit, to 2.7% into the medium term. And that's will be very welcome sort of sentiment driver for people who commit to South Africa money or investment or think about doing so. But I think the standout thing, and I don't think many other analysts are going to see it, is the minister said that a process is advanced to introducing what he calls a fiscal anchor. Now, a fiscal anchor will be a policy, it could even be legislated to say that a future state may not exceed a certain limit of borrowing or expenditure or a deficit. Now, I'm pretty certain in telling you that is being done by the GNU partners with a view to who might, in the fullness of time, come to lead the ANC, to make it very difficult for such a person to behave recklessly, blow out the deficit, borrow heavily, drive inflation. It's a very important thing and a very welcome thing as well. Then the minister also announced that South Africa is moving to a new inflation target. Now, the old inflation target was somewhere between 3 and 6%. That's been hardened now down to 3% is the target, with a little bit of leeway to go to 2 to 4% on the sides of that. And that's another very welcome read, because what it speaks to is fiscal prudence, fiscal conservatism, and extremely shrewd stewarding of the country's finances. Now, a point we've long made, and certainly I've made to my clients and the like, and that the Common Sense has made, is that there is a streak of fiscal prudence that runs through the old ANC. This was a party, after all, that had cut the debt levels they inherited from the last apartheid government in half in their first 15 years in government, while recording the first sustained budget surpluses. That was in 2006, 7, 8, since the formation of the Union of South Africa in 1910. Common sense, let's call it that. That is still very much at the heart of the government. And the last thing I'll say to you, Gabriel, is if you're a GNU skeptic and you think, what's the point? It's doing nothing. This is an extremely good effort on the part of the finance minister and his two deputies, one from the ANC, from the left of the ANC for that matter, the other one from the Democratic Alliance. And it bodes, there's a long way to go. We're hardly out of the woods. We're a country in a lot of economic trouble. But what we saw this afternoon is an extremely positive indicator about the long-term trajectory, not just of the GNU, but of the country and the economy as well. Gabriel.
So, Frans, it's very interesting because obviously this is the second budget that we've had this year. And the first budget was subject to a lot more division and a lot less, positive praise, and was a lot less praiseworthy. So what has happened in your mind in the intervening period that now we come to November after, the kind of attempted VAT increase that happened in March of this year, but the budgets that never were, and all of a sudden we have this kind of renewed sense of fiscal prudence. What's going on here?
I'd say to you, I mean, the sense of fiscal prudence was always largely present in the ANC. It's a thread that ran through the ANC for a time. It's faded and returned, but never been entirely lost. And what I'd say to you has happened is this, that for 400 years here in South Africa, because I'm here, some of my colleagues are around the world, is the country was governed in a way that one powerful actor, wherever you were in what are the borders of South Africa today, one powerful actor could decide what happened, and that's how it was going to be. And after our election last year, when the ANC lost its majority, that changed. It's a profound change. And suddenly one actor can't have it their way anymore. And two parties, this time the ANC and the DA, because it's a coalition government between the two of them. The other parties don't matter much. They had to find a way to work with each other. And that was a totally new environment. And so there was a bit of niggle. And the niggle was about the VAT thing, and the DA took a strong stand, which was the right thing to do. And they said to the ANC, listen, you won't push us around. You don't screw with us, and we can also be strong. And the ANC realized that, listen, and you can kick them out and join up with MK and the EFF if you want and print money. I mean, that's perfectly an option. They didn't want to do that. So it's the thing starting to settle. And it doesn't mean it's settled now. It must settle a lot further. Remember, the 400 years we ran the place in one way. Now we're trying to do it in another way. And it might take another 5 or 10 years for the GNU partners finally to find each other completely, if they ever do. And along the way, the thing might break up, and there'll be new elections and new party leaders and all sorts of drama. But it is very, very pleasing that in such a short period of time, given the conflict of that first budget, by being strong, both sides, not by being weak and appeasing and indulging, but by the ANC being strong about what's important to it and the DA being strong about what's important to it, on something as critical as the national finances, the two sides have found each other very well, and the demonstrated that to the whole country and the whole world earlier this afternoon. So well done to them.